All right, senior home business family, how you guys doing today? Brittany's in the house. I'm here, and it looks like we are in company colors today. Brittany, you've got your, is that a true purple? I'm bad with color, so don't.
Light purple, yeah. I don't know. Lots of shades of purple.
A lending hand, senior solutions, that's our colors. And senior home business, I kind of got to go back and forth. And there's a little bit of blue, a little bit of red, a little depends on which logo you're looking at. I've been kind of falling on the black and white one over the last year, so I like that one a lot. Keeps it simple on some shirts and different things. But we're glad you're here today, and we do want to go over today the top 5 questions people should be asking before their mom or dad goes into senior living. And it's interesting enough, these 5 questions, you guys, we did a deep dive into ChatGPT. It's where these 5 questions originated. We have some articles to back this up. We didn't want this just to be questions that Brittany came up with, I came up with, and we kind of thought, well, that's kind of what they ask and all that. This is really a deep dive. And so you really want to stay tuned and get all 5 of these questions. And we got some input on that. Also down below, if you want, there's some links down below if you want to know more about the Senior Placement Institute, Brittany, which we did last year. I'm super excited about 42 modules. It is the most comprehensive senior placement course in the country. So if you want to know more about that, click the link down below. There's a webinar you can watch. It's a 3-day workshop. And then Brittany, I'm getting ready to do another challenge. I just completed the challenge a few weeks ago. It was a success. And it was over the course of 6 days, 2 hours each day to get a paying client in an area that I have never done business before. Didn't know anybody in senior living. Man, it was incredible. It was incredible. We had a bunch of people watching, and we're going to do another one in November. And here's the thing. We have not identified the location yet. And the reason we haven't identified the location yet, if you are out there and you want to be a part of this, now it's going to be one-on-one with me. So it is going to be a one-on-one price tag. So I get that. But if you want to establish your business and you want me and Josh and have part of my staff back home help supporting the idea and the thought of getting your business off the ground, like Crystal, making some calls and different things, I will fly out to wherever you are. And I will spend a week with you to get your business off the ground. So that's what we're going to do. But during that time, while we're there, we're also doing this challenge. And Brittany, I just want to show a couple of videos on this challenge because it's 38 days away. Don't wait until the last minute because there will be a lot of people. I may end up capping it at some point. I know that sounds salesy. I'm not trying to come across that way. But we got all these different people in an app too, and it's easier when the group is not larger than 100. I mean, when you get beyond that, it just gets a little more difficult, especially for me answering all those questions, right, Brittany? That's what we get to. So let's listen to a couple of these testimonies, and you guys can watch this on your own time if you like, if you want to click the link down below.
I want to start by just saying thanks so much for this challenge and letting us kind of see behind the scenes. It was really, really beneficial for me personally, kind of getting to see this. Like I think I mentioned, I'm starting from scratch here. And so getting to see kind of how things are done behind the scenes was very valuable to me. So wanted to start just by expressing a thank you.
And let's listen.
The challenge that you put together is very affordable and it's extremely invaluable. I've read a lot of material, purchased some other courses online, but having the ability to speak with you and ask you direct questions is way more valuable than any printed material or any pre-made video. That I will tell you. So thank you for starting this, and for the next group of people that sign up for it, it's definitely well worth it. So I hope you do it for the future for other people. They will definitely benefit from it.
One more, Brittany.
This has been so valuable. I took another course and I've gotten so much more out of the last several days that I did in the last 9 months that I don't even think I've really looked at the whole course because there just wasn't a lot in there. But thank you so much for this. I'm really grateful. I signed up for the VIP portion because this has been so valuable.
That's awesome, man. Brittany, I tell you, more than she's taken more from these several days than some she's taken over the last 9 months. So you can scroll through all this. I'll go real quickly. What you'll get: daily videos via email, PDF templates, scripts, and checklists, midweek live Zoom call for deeper insights, end of the week recap video, direct message with me, and a bonus 30-minute coaching session at the end. So enough about that, but I just want to tell you about that because I'm super excited because it was something I've been talking about and thinking about. At least I don't know if I've been talking about a whole lot, but thinking about doing something like this, encouraged by others to do it. It was challenging, was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. And I think, Brittney, mainly because I spent 100% of my time in a hotel room just making phone calls. This challenge is going to be different. The one in November, I'm actually going to go out to communities. I'm actually going to go out to social workers. I think I'm pretty good on the phone, but I'm much better in person. And that's the part that was challenging for me, because it was, imagine calling somebody who does not know you, and you're going to establish rapport quickly on the phone, not even meet with them. Don't bring them a coffee. Don't bring them donuts, whatever you want to do, and try to get a lead. And it happened. It worked with some social media, some stuff I was doing. I ran no ads. Oh, no, I take that back. I did run one ad. I had somebody mention to me that if I thought it was beneficial to run a Craigslist ad. I did do that. It was $5 for 30 days. It wasn't a whole lot. I didn't get anything from it. So just let you know. And maybe I put it in the wrong spot, Brittney. I put it in the real estate section. I don't know. So maybe that was the wrong thing. But let's get into it today. You didn't come to hear all that stuff, but I was super excited. I won't do an intro like that, that extensive for the Senior Placement Challenge going forward. But I just wanted to bring that up because I am more than elated about getting this thing off the ground again. It's exhilarating. I'm telling you, this business is so exciting. And Brittney, is so exciting to meet with people, help people. And this gives you an opportunity to do something from home. So again, if you'll know more about the courses, just click the link. So let's get into it today. Before your mom or dad moves into a community, you should be asking these 5 questions. And again, these came from ChatGPT. These came from a deep search, not just a casual question to ChatGPT. And if you're using ChatGPT, as a pro tip, don't use it that way. Don't use it just, okay, mom, ChatGPT, where should my mom go in the senior living? What are the opportunities around here? Something like that. The prompt needs to be a lot more clear, more succinct than that. But get into the 5 questions that you should be asking. And Brittney, I tell you, as I'm going through these 5 questions, I got thinking about something. Let me run this by you real quick. Is we always talk about doing the tour, right? So with seniors or their families going out doing the tour, and it's sometimes it's a one-time shop. Right? I mean, it's just a one-stop shop, right? You just walk in, the vibe's right, it feels right. It's where mom should be. Those kind of things. As I'm going through these questions, it's got me thinking maybe it should be more than one tour. Maybe it should be more than one visit, because it's going to require a lot more information that you're going to have to extract from these senior living communities. And so the first one is, how do you staff and train for safety, especially overnight? The emphasis on the last 2 words, especially overnight. That is where it becomes a challenge, I think, for some senior living communities, is the overnight staff. So, Brittney, what's your thoughts on that?
I agree. There's less leadership in the building. I would even pair weekends and evenings, overnight, weekends, evenings. Anytime that there's not a lot of leadership in the building, even coming from the executive director or administrator all the way down to the director of nursing. A lot of places do have charge nurses or at least nursing managers that help. But I think that's a really great question. And to your point, I don't know if a one tour or a marketing director or an admissions person would know these things. So I like the idea of touring, more than once. But most times when I get complaints or just concerns, it's usually overnight, weekends, and evenings where the fall throughs are happening, response time. They just feel like they're not staffed enough. I get a lot of comments that, are they understaffed? Can they not handle the residents? How many residents is each caregiver responsible for? I don't know about your state, Matt, but in my states, they are required to have less caregivers at night because most of the residents are sleeping. So the state has a set number for during the day, and then it fluctuates for how many they require to have on property per residence inside of a building. So it does fluctuate. And sometimes it doesn't matter because a lot of residents do sleep. So some communities have a really good system, but some don't.
Yeah, I think about residents getting up in the middle of the night, screaming in the middle of the night, needing attention in the middle of the night. And I get the whole idea, less staff in the evening versus during the day. And it does come down to, I hate to say this, but a monetary reason, right? I mean, you can't necessarily, I guess you could, but it would probably increase the price, staff it exactly in the evening like you do during the day. I mean, that probably would be hard to do, but man, it's something that communities need to think through. It's really what families need to ask in terms of the questions. I mean, how do you, staff and train, right, for safety? And I think about, and I've said this one other time on this channel before, Brittney, is that the former AL community I worked with years ago, there was one particular week, it was a week, now maybe longer, but I was aware of it for a week, that in the evening on the AL side and the memory care side combined, there was one caregiver. One. Now, I don't know what happened. Again, I was outside sales kind of thing. So it wasn't a kind of thing that I was privy to a whole lot of information. Maybe some people quit, maybe a lot of unexpected things happen, I'm sure. But when I heard that, I was blown away. I'm like, okay, I know how many residents we have here on both sides. How is one caregiver going to be able to do that? So I want to bring up an article, Brittney, here, in all fairness to communities too, because communities kind of get a bad rep sometimes, and you and I are in the business of representing the client and promoting the community. And this article here, it's not too long ago, it's November 2024, so just almost a year ago. But it talks about in this thing here that in this research that the overall satisfaction with assisted living memory care communities is up 18 points. So the communities are doing some things that to improve. I mean, if you hear stories about senior living communities that are just not doing their job, or just, falling, seniors are falling, and a lot of horror stories you hear, stuff like that, just know that most, if not all, are trying their best, and they are improving. They are attempting to improve in a lot of ways. So I just want to bring that up to everybody, because as we get into these 5 questions and talking about, like the first one, safety and the overnight thing, some of this might sound kind of critical of the communities. And for every community out there that's not real good, there's a bunch of communities that are really, really good. So you just got to find them and understand these questions. Now, Brittney, I mentioned this to you. I think it was off the air. I don't know if it was right off the air or right when we started. I'm lost now. But in terms of doing this one tour kind of thing, we always teach, that's part of the process, right? Your families get to a place where they actually tour the community. And then sometimes you've experienced this, I know, and I have, is families walk in, the vibe and the feel, everything's just feels right, man. Mom should be here, and they just ready to sign the dotted line. I get it, because the touring of communities can be exhausting and all that stuff. But maybe with these 5 questions that we're getting ready to go over when we spoke the first one, it might mean you have to go on multiple tours of the same community. Is that an overkill, or is that doing due diligence? What do you think?
I would say it's not overkill. I know I've had families go back and retour even with an executive director, or meet with an executive director or the director of nursing. I personally think that should be a part of the senior living admission process before choosing a place, is really having those conversations with the executive director or the director of nursing about your loved one, to see and be able to ask these questions specifically to the person. Because a lot of times when you ask a general question, I'll give an example. You might say, well, what's your staffing ratios? Some of the communities might blurt out, well, we do the standard of the state. Most families won't know what that is. Other communities say they go off acuity. So they staff based on what their residents need. So I think having that another meeting with an executive director or director of nursing is helpful. Luckily, in the states that I do work in, an assessment is required by the director of nursing face-to-face upon admission. And I encourage families to be there for the assessment, to ask these questions specifically to their loved one when they're doing the assessment. So that's a very, not a tour, so to say, but it's a good chance to get to know who's going to be in charge of their loved one's care, and an opportunity to ask specifically, okay, you've seen my mom or dad. What does the care look like and her routines, and what does the staff, do you have the staff at night, all those questions.
No doubt. Number 2, what's your medication management process and error prevention record? This is a tough one because, it's just real tough. Again, going back to the AL community I was part of, okay, and hearing some of the stories there, and then also as a senior placement agent early on in my tenure, probably within the first year or so, there was a well-known community that it seemed like every 3 months they had a citation, and the citation was just on this topic alone. It was mismanagement of medication. One particular month, for a solid 30 days, a senior was given the wrong medication. Now, again, I know things happen, mistakes happen. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect for sure. But it's just, that's a hard, lack of a, no pun intended, hard pill to swallow when you found out your dad has been given the wrong medication for the last 30 days. I don't know how that happens for 30 days. I can see it happening maybe one shift, couple shifts, but over a 30-day period of time, there should be some checks and balances in that. So you really need to ask the questions about how they handle their medication management. What do their records look like? I mean, and let me ask you this, Brittney, because that's a great question to ask, and not to put you on the spot, because I probably am, but how would a family ask this question in a conversational way that it's not seemingly threatening to the community? Like, how could they present this just in a way of, hey, I'm just doing my due diligence for my dad. I would like to know how you guys handle your med management.
Yeah.
Would that be a good way or no?
Yeah, that'd be a good way. It's just making, like you said, not predatory or questionable or trying to criticize them. Just say, I know this is a big thing for most seniors. Medication is huge. If they miss a medication or it's not on time, it can really affect them physically and mentally. So I think just showing the concern for your loved one, and just making sure that portrays correctly, that you're just really concerned and want to make sure that everything goes smooth, would be a really good approach. I have a question for you, Matt. Do your assisted livings have their own pharmacies in-house that they work with? Like, do they?
Yeah. So many of them do. One actually has their own pharmacy kind of deal with built in within.
Yeah.
I'm not sure totally how that's operated. I don't know if that's an outside party, which I assume it is, and they just have a location within the community. But many of them have some form of connection with a pharmacy. Yeah.
So a good intro too that I've seen families do, that I've coached them on, is most of my clients use Walgreens, Walmart, CVS. They're having to change to a whole other pharmacy and get all new scripts. So that is a way that you can ask, how do you work with your third-party pharmacy to make sure there's no errors? Because it really comes from also getting the medication. I've had clients that have not gotten the right meds to get to the new community. So I think it starts there. And then, of course, how they manage it, how they reorder it, when do they reorder it? Is it on time? Do they make sure that they're requesting the refills? Because ideally, when you go to assisted living, the medication management should come off not only the residents, but the family's responsibilities. They should be able to move into assisted living and have that pharmacy now take over. So I think that's a good introduction too, is like, let's start at square one. What is your pharmacy policy like? What is the whole process for even getting the medication?
Yeah. And let me bring this up too, because this could be part of the reason for the lack of med management, things like that. But I mean, this turnover rate, right, within assistants and personal assistants all within these communities. And I mean, they've seen tremendous turnovers, 47.1%, 41.8%. I mean, registered nurses, 34.7%, things like that. And that's just something that you really want to know as a family, is that turnover kind of deal. Because if you don't know that answer, you might end up, hearing about these horror stories or unfortunately experience it yourself. So med management will be the second one. Number 3 is, how do you detect a change in condition and coordinate hospital ER transitions? Because like anybody, life changes, right? I mean, here I am, 56, my knees are starting to, make noise when I go up the stairs and, stuff like that. And it's like, oh my gosh, and just the normal everyday life. But so seniors are no different. And so when things change, how do they detect that change? And how do they coordinate with whether it be a hospital or ER, transition, and also their condition within the community themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think also to add that to that too is how do they communicate with the family when the hospital and ER transitions happen? That's a huge downfall of some just communication errors. So that's a great question to ask.
Yeah, and it's I mean, we understand that when the condition changes, oftentimes what changes? The price tag. The price tag changes, right? And again, because mom went in and she had 3 ADLs. Now mom is graduated. We always say graduated, right? It's not decline. It is decline, but I call it graduated now to 6 ADL. So now it's twice the work, twice the commitment from the community. So it seems to be understandable and just reasonable for a community to raise the price. But oftentimes families don't think about that. And so you need to really ask that questions. Number 4, what protections and policies apply to involuntary discharge or eviction if needs or financing change? So that's kind of going along with that. But is there any safeguards that families can have in the contract with the community or anything? I mean, and again, guys, safeguards are not oral commitments. Okay. I have enough experience with communities to know that, and just people in general, businesses, I mean, whether it be senior living communities or whatever, sometimes people are just going to tell you what you want them to hear, right? They just want to tell you something that will pacify the moment and will get you to sign and move in, and we'll deal with all the particulars and details later. I get that. You don't want to be in that position. So whatever commitments you get from the community, you definitely want to get it in writing. I'll give you an example. There was a community that one of my families went over to, and they were touring, and they were going through all the discussions about, whether mom was going to be there or not. And, they were a little strapped. I mean, they had a little wiggle room, but, it wasn't much. And they actually, as a family, it wasn't even me bringing it up. As a family, they were like, well, what if mom's needs exceed the amount of money we can spend? So I got talking with the community, and we actually worked out an arrangement that their particular monthly fee would not go up for 3 years. Now that's atypical. Don't take that as the gospel. Don't take that as something customary of every senior living community is going to do that, because that's not going to happen. But they got that in the contract in writing. So that was really, really cool. Now, I'm sure the community probably did their due diligence too, like to your point earlier, Brittney, with the assessment. I'm sure with the assessment, they collaborated and kind of figured out, okay, what's the chances of mom's needs deteriorating greatly, or she'd be about the same, we think. I mean, there was a lot of guessing, I'm sure, but what's your viewpoint on this, and what families can do to kind of safeguard themselves from drastic increases, in finances?
I think a big question that I always advise families on doing is finding out what the max care cost will be, so they're aware. A lot of times, like you said, they could come in with 2 ADLs, then things change, life happens, they graduate, need more care. So I think it's very good to have transparent conversations. A lot of assisted livings will have like level 1 through 5 on the brochure, and little fine print says 5 through 10 C, could apply, things like that. So just making sure that you're having those transparent conversations, like to your point, seeing if there's any kind of thing you can get in writing. I know a lot of my communities will do same rate for 6 months, or all care included for 6 months as an incentive, making sure that's in writing. Also, another thing is asking, like, if we have to bring in services like hospice or home health, how does that affect my loved one's costs? Does it help anything if hospice is coming in? So just having, I think, honestly, transparent conversations before you sign on the dotted line. And then when you do, making sure that anything they had promised or said they would take care of, it's in the contract.
Yeah. And number 5, Brittney, how do you prevent wandering, elopement, and keep residents secure? What are the incident rates? This is so important, you guys. This is just as a staffing issue. It's a training issue. That AL community I work with, Brittney, there was a gentleman when I actually found out what elopement was in the industry. Because when I started way back when, I thought the guy eloped. I thought he went to Vegas and got married. But unfortunately, there was a guy in memory care that scaled an 8-foot wall and went down to the local convenience store in memory care. And the executive director went down, picked him up, and brought him back. But so nothing happened to the individual that was too alarming. However, he did that. But so what are some ways that we can prevent wandering and elopement, especially in memory care, right? That's one of the biggest. And I don't know really what you do outside of having taller fences and walls. And but there's a lot of things that goes on in memory care. If you've never been in the memory care unit, which I know you have many times, but for the audience that's out there, it's a little different experience, especially if you, it's like anything. Certain ones are, probably about average in terms of participation with the seniors and what's going on. And then there's some that could be a show. And, even to the point where I think I told you before, Brittney, I saw my executive director being chased down the hallway with a guy in memory care with a closet bar, things like that. So you can get some extreme things in there. But what are some ways that families could be reassured that their mom or dad's not going to, be wandering around, this elopement thing?
I think it's obviously to ask the questions like, do they have a keypad? Does that keypad have a passcode that is given out to family members? That's my biggest flaw that I see when people are escaping, if you want to call it, or eloping, is that they give the passcode to also family members, where there could be residents that are on the younger side or just very ambulatory, and they put on a good show and are able to walk right behind a visiting guest because they think they're another visiting guest. So things like that. Is the passcode given out to family? If it's a key fob, who has the key fobs? What does that protocol look like? How often do they check? How do kind of a head count? How often do they keep them involved so they're not looking for the doors or wandering? One tip that I have and that I've seen recently is I have a lot of memory cares that this will probably shock you that actually don't work well with people that are eloping. So I've had a couple memory cares that their comment was, I'm sorry, we can't accept your loved one, or we can't move forward because we already have a few people that are eloping. Kind of blew my mind because that's very normal in memory care, but I am seeing that. So, just because they're eloping does not always mean that a memory care can help that and work with that. So I think if you have a loved one that is eloping, or if you're a senior placement agent working with a client that's eloping, finding out those communities that's what they specialize in. We have some that have like a double door. So you go through one door, it's not secured. The second door is secure, things like that. So I think it's really important as a family or a senior placement agent to find out what are the communities that really specialize in that extra precautions.
I think, and I know it's a construction issue, but I love the double door concept. I think that's imperative for every memory care, especially if you got an AL on one side, memory care on the other. Go through one door. It serves like a waiting room. You're preparing yourself to go into a different community altogether, even though I know it's the same name on the signs, a different community, different levels of care, different situations altogether. When you only have one door with a keypad, I think you're more apt to fall into the thing of, you're kind of entering in something that you may not want to right away or be uninvolved. So I love the double door concept. And I know it's a construction issue. So when communities are already built, to go back and do all that, and still operate, and that's going to be challenging. But man, those are the questions you really need to ask, you guys. So again, how do you staff and train for safety, especially at night? What's your medication management process, error prevention record? How do you detect a change in condition and coordinate hospital ER transitions? What protections and policies applied in voluntary discharge or eviction if needs or finances change? And finally, what we just talked about, how do you prevent wandering and elopement and keep residents secure? What are your incident rates? These are the 5 questions that you really need to be asking if you're going, if your loved one is thinking about going into a senior living community, because they very much need it. It's hard questions. It's not questions that the communities are going to be too welcoming. I mean, not that I'm going to answer the question, not that I'm going to have a conversation with you, but it's going to be the hard questions, right? Just life in general, relationships. I mean, certain questions in life are very much easy. Hey, how you doing? You know, how's life? How's work? You know, then now you really get into the nitty gritty of how they operate, their policies and their procedures, and you're diving deep. And it's so important because in order for your loved one to be in the right place, you'll need to know the answers to these questions. I would hope and pray that every senior placement agent asks, helps their families go through these questions. Brittney, I know you do, I do. But if you don't, man, please do. And this business is a profession. It is a legitimate business. It's not a name drop business. Again, if you want to know more how this business operates in this fashion and take your business to the next level, man, click the link down below and watch the webinar of the Senior Placement Institute and see what we got to offer, because this is the way you need to conduct business. And this business is changing. It's like any industry, it's changing day in, day out. And so you're going to need to be fully aware of what's going on, how to help your families. And I can give you a hint. In this business, people talk about getting leads. If you do the business the right way, you will get leads. Brittney, I believe that's true in your business, my business. It's reputation over time. It's brand. It's doing things the right way. And people talk about you doing things the right way. And so I would encourage you to do that. I think we might have, let's see, we got a comment here. Let's see. From Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca. I worked on a memory care unit, had a 6'5" man elope over the courtyard gate that was only 7 feet. The first week they were open. Second time he went through the window. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear that, Rebecca. That is a sad story. And that's some of the stories that you will obviously hear in senior living. We as senior placement agents can help prevent that. We can help just by disclosing the conditions, the level of acuity of the resident to the community, so to make sure they are paired, they are matched, right? What you said earlier, Brittney, like some, I think some memory care communities, if the resident is eloping or wandering, they don't accept them, some of them, and that's their deal. And that's what they can take care of. And they've understood that. Now, maybe those communities have had some instances in the past where it's gotten them to that place. I've got some communities in my area that used to do Hoyer lifts. And now they don't, because they ran into a liability issue. They ran into a caregiver having an injured back and workman's comp and can't come to work. Now I got to all these different things. So be patient with communities. They all got their own story as well as residents. But hopefully this was helpful for you guys today. And please, as a family, ask these 5 questions. And senior placement agents, please guide your families through these questions. So until next time, God bless.